Hi, and welcome to PollEverywhere. PollEverywhere is an audience response system that uses mobile phones, Twitter, and the web to engage the audience. PollEverywhere uses 3 simple steps that make it very effective. So today I'm going to show you how to use PollEverywhere. So I believe I'm already logged into the program, but here's how it works. So the first step, you're going to ask your audience a question with the PollEverywhere app, or you can do it on the website like we're going to do today. And then after the poll is publicized and you make it easy to access for your students or whoever you may be using your poll for, they can get on their mobile device, their computers, tablets, anything works. You can either use the app or just use the mobile site like I'll be showing you today. And then they can respond to that poll, and you'll be getting a live response to your own website that you'll be able to see once we go over that today. So let me take you to where my polls is what you're going to click on. So we're going to go to my polls, and this is your dashboard. So on your dashboard, you're going to have all the polls that you already made. So as you can see, I was practicing earlier today with what types of technology do you use in your school. I have 5 responses to that poll. So this is going to just be your dashboard where you can see all your polls. You can also, as you'll see as you go through the website, there's definitely upgrades to the site that you can pay for, but you can do the simple polls with a free account. All you need to do is have a username and password. So let's see here. The first thing we're going to do is go over how to make a poll. So you're going to find this button over here that's kind of a pinkish color. And you're just going to hit create poll. And that will bring up this box. Now, I'm not a really big fan of the pop-up windows. However, this pop-up window looks very simple, and there is a tutorial that you can watch yourself, but I'm just going to make a quick video for you just so you can see how to do it for your classroom. So as soon as you start typing in this box, so we'll just start any letter, it's going to open up to a bigger pop-up window. And in this pop-up window, you'll see that you have your poll question up here. So this is going to be whatever question you want to pose. Now, this is a little confusing because you don't want to put your answers in this box with the poll question. I suppose you could. However, the multiple choice answers can go here at the bottom. Now, as you can see, you can just keep this pop-up window open and add multiple questions to a singular poll, which would mean that this whole poll would be another, like, multiple questions in one. So then you start typing here, you go down, you can add another one, so you can just add as many questions as you'd like. So that's the overview of this pop-up window. Now, as you will see on this pop-up window, there are different options that you can choose, which is what I really like about PollEverywhere. Number 1, that it's free. Number 2, that you can use mobile devices and the web, so it makes it really easy to access for students. But also because it has all of these options that you can choose. So the first one we'll go over is multiple choice. This is going to be pretty easy. So we'll type up here, what technology have you used in your classroom? All right, so that's a pretty easy question. Now, down here, all you need to do is type in your answers. So you could laptops, mobile devices. You can add answers, so you can have as many answers that you would want. Especially for the question that I've posed, you could put other. I'm sure a lot of students might have used other technology. So that is the basic gist of that. But what I do really like about the multiple choice, we'll go ahead and do another one down here, is that you can type what or which is the mitochondria. And then you can actually pick a photo. Now, obviously, you'll need to have a photo within your iPhotos or within your iMovie. But you can actually attach a photo to these as well, which I think works very well for science classrooms. As you saw, I put which is the mitochondria if you are identifying parts of a cell. So that is one thing that's also really great about this multiple choice question option, is that you can attach images as well. All right, so now we're going to move on to the open-ended questions. Now, these open-ended questions are really great to post onto your display in front of your classroom, for instance. So if you have a smart board or even just some sort of projector screen that you could project these answers onto, that is going to be very helpful for starting discussions in class, for students to submit their answers. For English classes, you can have them submit their practice thesis, and then the whole class can see what they post. So this is going to get a little bit confusing. So if we click this cluster, and then let me get rid of this poll question up here, and we'll actually just go ahead and switch this to be up here. So if we have an open-ended question, what was your favorite part of the novel? And because I'm going to be an English teacher, I'm going to focus on English here for a minute. But then you can either do a text wall, word cloud, and I'll just go over one with you. But one I really like is the cluster. So let's just go ahead and delete this extra poll question down here. Now I'm going to hit create, and we're going to see what happens with this. So you're going to come to this, and this is actually how you're going to interact with your class, which we can go over later, but I do want to go over what this open-ended question will look like. So you need to hit this button to activate the poll. To activate the poll means to make it live and accessible to your class, or really anyone that can be or can access this poll. So you may get responses that aren't necessarily your own students, but the likelihood of that happening is not high. So you hit this button, which will make it go live. And as you can see on this side, you can direct your students to PollEv.com, where you'll get your own little screen name and URL for them to type in, and then they'll be directed to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy and paste this. I have another tab open here. We're just going to put that in here. And so now this is the page that your students will be taken to when they put in the address in the URL space here. Even though it may look a little bit different because I'm still signed in, and PollEverywhere can still tell that I'm signed in, so it won't look exactly like this, but I do want to show you a couple responses. So I liked the beginning of the novel. Obviously, your students will hopefully not say that, but I liked the end of the novel. So then you're going to have all these responses, and then if we go back to PollEverywhere, which I need to locate, here we go. So then you're going to see that these responses start coming up on this, which you can also make full screen. So what I just did is I expanded it, so this is full screen. So this is the screen that you're going to want to put onto the smart board or whatever you're going to be using to project it. So then this is a really great way to get the students to put their answers on something that, as you can see, there's no name on these. There's no really identification, but obviously you can really get them to engage in the conversation, but not necessarily raise their hand and say exactly what they are talking, or what what they want to say. It just takes the pressure off a little bit for a lot of students that maybe are uncomfortable with speaking up in class. So this is the cluster response, which basically if I added more to these, there might be some over here, doing things over here, there might be some over here. And then the great thing about this as well is that there's this design feature where if you wanted to change it to a text wall, so these are a little bit more organized, a word cloud. So the word cloud's a little bit different though, and that's more of an overview. So if you had a bunch of responses, especially if you were trying to poll, what part of the cell don't we understand? So then this word cloud option, if people or if your students don't understand the nucleus, then the nucleus would most likely be the largest word on this screen. So that really gives you an idea as a teacher of where you need to go over in more detail for those students. Let's see. So there's our text wall. So that's basically the open-ended question version of how you can use PollEverywhere. So let me see if I can go back here to my poll. And also, we'll go back to this after we go over the different types of questions, although we are almost done with that. However, you can test it for yourself, which is a great option. So if I wanted to add more to these, I could say I liked the conflict of the novel. Submit response. This is a great way to just make sure that all your technology is working, because when we use technology in the classroom, we obviously want it to work. As I showed you before, you can go into full screen like we just did. You can also deactivate, which is the same as the activate button, so that will deactivate your poll. And then this is just to hide the text wall. This is another thing that you can show your students of how they can access the poll. And that's one aspect that we haven't really talked about yet. But PollEverywhere does work not only with the app on the mobile device, but it also works with texting. So as you can see here, the students can text this code to this number. I'm sure standard messaging rates will apply. But all they need to do is text this code to that number, and they will get a direct response from PollEverywhere saying that they have joined the poll, and then they will be able to answer the exact same questions as they would via a laptop, desktop, a tablet, using a website, but they can just text in their response. This is another way to make it really interactive for the students, so they can use their mobile devices in the classroom and kind of have fun with that, maybe as an opening little exercise in class. So let's see if we can go back to our polls. We're just gonna make this easy. Go back to PollEverywhere, my polls. So we're back at our poll dashboard here. Let's go back to create a poll and see if there's any other polls we should go over. So I do like these two options as well. This Q&A brainstorm is a really interesting option, especially for English classes, discussion classes. This poll, which you can just go ahead and create. You don't need to select anything special there. You will want to make a title though. So my title, for instance, would be the question. So what do you think of? Do you think that well, let's see. So for brainstorming, so that would be the brainstorming. So do you think that English class is necessary? So if we type that in, do you think that English class is necessary? That would definitely be a brainstorming option question. So these two options are really great, and they're going to come up just similar to the cluster you're going to have the question at the top, and then the students are able to really just kind of put their ideas out there, again, without putting their names, unless the teacher opted to do that. The Q&A option is also really great. As it says here, for Q&A, your audience will submit questions for a presenter or panel. So if you were having a guest lecture, if you were giving a talk during class and you had students direct their questions to this poll, that might save time within class. Instead of them answering or constantly raising their hand, they could write those questions down when they think of them. This clickable image, I think, is really great. I'm not going to load up an image and do it. You can play around with it yourself. But what I think is really great about this is that it's really, really a good option for math teachers. As you can see here, you can put X and Y coordinates. And then you can basically create like a graph if you wanted to, if you were doing some algebra graphs. You can ask about quadrants. So if you're teaching a math class and you need to teach about quadrant 1, quadrant 2, this is really great for that, obviously. Another thing that's really great about this is that it does have maps, not only world maps, but the United States. There's some other ways that you can design it, get a little fancy. The reason that I do like this clickable image is because the students are able to access that image and then interact with it via their mobile device or their laptop through the mobile or through the website. So those are the kind of polls which cover just about every single type of question I can think of that a teacher would want to ask or answer. So let me just go back and reiterate this. So you have your clickable image, which is great for math and history, geography, things like that that students can interact with. Then your question up here would be find or click on South Africa. And then as soon as the students have access to the world map, they can click on South Africa, and then you're going to have all those responses coming in. So this is a great way to quiz or just get a sense of what still needs to be worked on. Q&A we covered, and brainstorming. Those are really great ways to post students' ideas, questions onto a board. Open-ended questions are a great way to go about getting people to converse with the class. And then multiple choice is very simple. We all know how to do multiple choice questions. So we're going to go back to this question that I asked earlier, which was, what types of technology do you use in school? So right now, you see I designed this. I put some answers. So my question was, what types of technology do you use in your school? I put some responses. These are all my responses I did using the practice test thing over here. So let me just activate this. So remember, you can test it out. I used Google Docs. And then you'll see as soon as I submit this response, it's going to come up into our presentation over here, which is great because this is a very quick turnaround time for these responses. So you don't have to plan for a half an hour for people to respond. They can very quickly respond, and it'll show up right away. So now that I've activated this again, let me go and so this is going to be what your class is going to see. But what I'm going to show you is, let's go back to my polls. So then you're going to go hit these responses. So what I just did was I went to this poll. I went over here to the 6 responses, which were all mine. So you click on that 6 responses, and where it takes you is the result page for your poll. So each poll that you have is going to have a results page. Now, you don't necessarily need to use this page, but it is great to see the responses that you get. So if you do ask a question like, what do we need to work on, or what part of the cell don't we still understand? if you had a bunch of answers that all said the cell wall and plant cells, then you know at that point that you need to review cell walls. So this is a great way to do formative assessments within your classroom. So as you go to the summary page, you can see how many people responded, which is a great way to take attendance as well. Make sure that everyone only does one response, and you can see how many people responded. It's a great way to take attendance. And then you can also see the responses here and see when people responded. So this is also a great option for homework assignments. You can see when they responded, what they responded, and it's just a really great way to see what exactly your students have said. So this summary page is helpful, not necessary, but definitely helpful for seeing what your students have to say. Then you can also hit this response history, which is basically the same page. And then you can download a spreadsheet. So then there's ways to take this data that you have on this page and put them in a graph, put them in a chart. So you could present this to your administration if you wanted to do a school project. There's just a lot of great options for using PollEverywhere. And I know I've said the word great about a million times now, but I really firmly believe that this program is an excellent program to use within the classroom. So that about wraps up PollEverywhere. Like I said, there's a lot. You can also there's a lot of things that you can upgrade. There's pricing upgrades, new features, and all of these things I'm sure are attached to the upgrades. So if it is something that you get really comfortable with and you would like to use more often, by all means, I'd say upgrade, pay the money. Here's another advertisement for it, so you can see that. And it does say here, if more than 25 people decide to participate, their response will be lost forever. I don't necessarily think that's 100% true for these polls, so don't fret about that if you're trying to use it in the classroom. This participants thing is also, you need to upgrade, but you can use it so you can identify them by their name, student ID, employee number. So this is a great option to use in the classroom as well. But I am not going to pay for that just to make this video for you. I'm sorry. So that about wraps up our PollEverywhere video. I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that you've learned some new skills, and I hope that you are interested in testing out PollEverywhere, because it is a great free site where you can ask as many questions as you want, and that's really what we want in the classroom. So anyways, thank you for watching my video, and have a great rest of your day.